Good morning, everybody, and welcome to today's update on Hurricane Idalia. So, Hurricane Idalia has become a hurricane, and as of 7 a.m. Central Daylight Time, Tuesday, August the 29th, Hurricane Idalia has maximum sustained winds of 80 miles per hour, a minimum central pressure of 977 millibars, and northerly movement at 14 miles per hour. So, looking at the latest Zoom Earth satellite imagery and cone for now Hurricane Idalia. Hurricane Idalia has maximum sustained winds of 80 miles per hour, Category 1 hurricane as of 8:30 a.m. Central Time, August the 29th. And as we go into this afternoon, around 1 p.m., we're expecting a 100 mile per hour Category 2 hurricane moving to the north. And then, by Wednesday 1 a.m. Central Time, a 120 mile per hour Category 3 hurricane nearing the Big Bend of Florida. So we're anticipating a landfall, I would say sometime around noon on Wednesday, in the Big Bend of Florida between Tallahassee and Gainesville. Looking at Wednesday, 8 p.m. Central Time, an 80 mile per hour Category 1 hurricane on the Florida Georgia border near Valdosta. And then as we go into Thursday morning, we're going to see Idalia pass very close to Savannah, going towards Charleston as a 60 mile per hour tropical storm, re-emerge near Wilmington, North Carolina by Thursday 1 p.m. Central Time as a 60 mile per hour tropical storm, going into Friday 1 a.m., 60 mile per hour tropical storm moving offshore, and then as we go into Saturday 1 a.m. Central Time, a 50 mile per hour tropical storm curving back to the southeast, and then Sunday 1 a.m. Central Time, a 45 mile per hour tropical storm curving to the southeast, kind of moving into where Franklin is located right now. We have hurricane warnings continuing for western Cuba as well as a tropical storm warning. Tropical storm warning for the western Florida Keys, tropical storm watches for the central Florida Keys, and then we have a tropical storm watch from the Everglades through Bonita Springs, Cape Coral, through Northport, as well as a hurricane watch in Northport, and then a hurricane warning from Bradenton through Tampa Bay, Spring Hill, through the Big Bend of Florida, through south of Panama City, and then a tropical storm warning also south of Panama City. Also, tropical storm warnings on the east coast of Florida now, from Palm Bay through Jacksonville, through southeastern Georgia. Tropical storm watches from south central Georgia through Savannah, through Charleston, and Myrtle Beach. So, looking at the latest key messages for Hurricane Idalia, there's a danger of life-threatening storm surge inundation along portions of the Gulf Coast where a storm surge warning is in effect, including Tampa Bay and the Big Bend region of Florida. Inundation of 8 to 12 feet above ground level is expected somewhere between the Chasa, Hautazika, and Aculia River. Residents in these areas should follow any advice given by local officials. Hurricane conditions are expected within portions of the hurricane warning area along the Gulf Coast, with the potential for destructive winds where the core of Idalia moves ashore. Strong winds will also spread inland across portions of northern Florida near the track of the center of Idalia. Heavy rainfall is expected across portions of western Cuba and may produce areas of flash and urban flooding as well as landslides. Areas of flash and urban flooding, some of which may be locally significant, are expected across portions of the west coast of Florida, the Florida Panhandle, and southern Georgia, beginning today into Wednesday, spreading into portions of the eastern Carolinas Wednesday into Thursday. So make sure you're really battening down the hatches if you live from Tampa through the Big Bend of Florida for a major hurricane impact from Idalia. And looking at the latest official hurricane cone, we're looking at a major hurricane by 1 a.m. tomorrow morning, hurricane through 1 p.m. tomorrow morning, tropical storm 1 a.m. Thursday morning, remaining a tropical storm through 1 a.m. Saturday morning, with the hurricane warnings in the red, tropical storm warnings in the blue, tropical storm watches in the yellow, hurricane watch in the pink. Now, looking at the latest rainfall projections from the Weather Prediction Center, a broad swath of 1 to 2 inches is expected from Atlanta through Charlotte through Raleigh in the light green, as well as areas of eastern Florida, 2 to 4 inches in the dark greens in areas like Orlando, Jacksonville, Tallahassee, up through central Georgia, central areas of the Carolinas, 4 to 6 inches of rain expected in the yellow area from western Florida through southeast Georgia, central southeast South Carolina, and southeastern North Carolina, and then a swath of 6 to 10 inches where the core of Idalia moves through in the orange, just east of Tallahassee, through areas of Georgia and the Carolinas near Wilmington. So make sure you're preparing for some moderate to major flooding if you live across, especially in the yellow and orange zones from Idalia. Looking at the latest excessive flooding rainfall outlook from the Weather Prediction Center for the next 3 days, a moderate risk is maintained from northern Florida through southeast Georgia, southeast South Carolina, southern North Carolina, in Wilmington, Charleston, Savannah, and Jacksonville. Slight risk in the yellow from Tampa through central Florida, through Tallahassee, much of Georgia, northwestern South Carolina, much of North Carolina, eastern Tennessee, and into some of the Appalachia regions. Marginal risk in the dark green. And then looking at the latest storm surge forecasts, 8 to 12 feet in the Big Bend of Florida, 4 to 7 feet in Tampa Bay, and then 3 to 5 feet along much of southwestern Florida, 2 to 4 feet across Georgia and South Carolina, 1 to 3 feet across the Keys, the Everglades, towards Jacksonville, and near Panama City Beach, and 3 to 5 feet in this area in the Florida Panhandle in the yellow. Now looking at the latest probabilities for tropical storm force winds. Tropical storm force winds are guaranteed from areas like west of Tampa in Pinellas County through Lake City in Florida, central Florida in the purple, near guaranteed across southeast Georgia near Jacksonville, Florida, and Valdosta, Georgia, and then likely across central Florida and west central Florida, southeast Georgia, and southeastern South Carolina. And then looking at the timing of the tropical storm force winds beginning as of right now across the Florida Keys, across southern Florida this afternoon, across central Florida this evening, across northeastern Florida Wednesday early morning, by Wednesday 8 a.m. across portions of Georgia and South Carolina, by Wednesday evening southeastern North Carolina, and then by Thursday and Friday pushing offshore, potentially going near Bermuda. So Idalia is going to be a major impacting storm for areas of central and northern Florida, as well as Georgia and the Carolinas. Make sure you're making hurricane preparations if you live in the path of Idalia. Please stay safe and have a wonderful day, my friends.